This video is going to have two parts. In the first part, we're going to be talking about really useful and kind of hidden tips and tricks for selecting in Blender. Very useful for hard surface modeling, so I'm sure you're going to pick up some cool tricks. And at the end of the video, it's going to be a bit of fun with ChatGPT, so watch it if you want to have a laugh. Now, I'm going to pull this list in here because reasons. There's a lot of stuff we need to cover, and I'm just going to be going through it one by one, okay? Now, some stuff you may be knowing, some stuff is going to be new, so focus. So let's start with the Ctrl I. This is going to be the first one. Let's grab a cube, Shift D, Y, and duplicate it in here. And what I'm going to do is select all of them, then go to Alt M and Control click on Add Blank Matte. This is going to add different matte to all of these cubes. Now, you cannot see this. You cannot see anything in the viewport because mine is set to single, but if I switch it to matte, you see what I mean. Now, let's say I wanted to copy this matte to all of these other elements in the scene. So what I have to do is select that one, Ctrl I to invert the selection, Shift select this cube, go to matte, and boom, right? Now this is also useful for actually selecting geo because it acts in the same way. So if I'm gonna, for example, have a cylinder, and let's say I have, something in here like that, and I want to, let's say, select everything else but a loop, for instance. So let's say if I have a lot of geo in here and I want to select everything else but this loop, I will select this one, maybe even expand my selection by Ctrl+ and then Ctrl I. So really useful, yeah? And then you can do all kinds of stuff. Like for example, you can go to Alt-click on EM macro and do this, right? And if you would like to learn more about how to use hardobs and box cutter, then grab our course, The Ultimate Guide to Hardobs and Box Cutter, which will teach you all the tips and tricks on these add-ons, and also will teach you how to work 8 times faster in Blender, which is really, really important because, speed is everything, speed is money. So go ahead and grab the course. The link is in the video description. Now, going back to our list, Ctrl+ click the shortest path. That has actually two implications. So if I have a cube, right, and I'm going to subdivide it, right, and I wanted to select the shortest path between these 2 points, I'm going to click here and then Control click, and Blender will automatically run a shortest path to my selection. Now this could be used in a different situation because that's, all right, but it's not that useful because it's a bit random, right? But what's really useful is the same algorithm being used in a different way. So watch this. Let's say I wanted to select, let me just select this boundary here, right? Let's select that, okay? And I'm gonna add a mark, let's say mark sharp here. Let's say I wanted to select the area here within these squares. And let's say I wanted to do it pretty quickly. So, normally what you would need to do is you would need to sit here and just keep selecting all these, with control and hoping that it's gonna take you less than a whole day. But if you're gonna have more squares or larger areas, it's gonna take a long time. So what you can do instead, you can select it within a pattern and then use Ctrl-Shift shortcut. So watch this. If I click here and then hold Control and select the pattern and round in a U shape, then I can hover over this square, hold Shift and Control. If I click, it's going to select the remaining area based on the shortest path. So it's a similar idea and it's going to save you a lot of time. So that's that. Now 3 is going to be Control, Shift and click, right? So that's basically this Control, Shift and click, which I just showed you. So, shortest path and then Control, Shift and click to choose a shortest path within a face selection. Then you got Control, Alt, and click. This is quite interesting. So let's say you have a cube, right? And you wanted to select the ring of loops around this cube. It's easy because all you do is hold Control and Alt, and you can click here, and it's gonna select the ring of loops. Now, what if this was a bit more of a complicated object? So let's say the object was all of these cubes together, which are not linked physically. So if I go Ctrl J, I'm going to create one object out of all of these cubes. Now it's one object, but it's not connected physically with geometry. So now if I wanted to, for example, select these with, Ctrl Alt and click and select these, it's gonna just keep jumping between the cubes. So what you need to do is shift to the equation. So Ctrl Alt and Shift, and then you can start adding to the selection and select all of them, and then you can run your bevel, right? So there you go. Next one's gonna be Lselection. This one is really powerful, okay? And there's a lot of applications. So one of these applications is gonna be very basic. Actually, let's go back to this example. If I wanted to select the entire mesh, right, I would press A, right? It's gonna select everything in a scene. Now, what if I wanted to select a specific part of this object, right? Because it's one object again, right? But the mesh isn't connected, okay? So what I could do is I could hover over one of these pieces and press L. This is going to select a specific separated mesh within an object. So L, boom, right? And I'm going to select everything. Now, what if I wanted to select a specific area on a mesh of that object? So in other words, what if I wanted to, for example, right? Let me just split that. What if I wanted to select just this top piece, right? Or top and bottom piece, but not this one, right, in the middle. What you could do, you could separate it with seam. So you could run seam on it, like that, right? And then you can use L by hovering over, and seam is going to limit the selection. It's going to be like a boundary for the selection. So watch. L, L, and you got that. Pretty cool, right? If you're going to add, you know, seams in here, you're going to end up with this, right? Then if you press Ctrl I, you invert the selection, select this one and everything else. So you can start kind of seeing how powerful combinations of these selections can be, right? Let's keep going. Now, next one's gonna be this one, hierarchy. So this one is really, really, really useful, okay? So if I have an object here, okay? And I have, let's just duplicate this, right? I have multiple objects here, okay? And I'm gonna put them all in one collection. So M and new collection, number one, whatever, right? And they're in one collection. What if I wanted to select all the objects at the same time in one collection? Let's say I have, you know, I have thousands of objects in here and I don't know which one is which, right? I'm confused. I don't know which one is collection one, which one is collection two. I have no clue, right? Let me just move them outside to a different collection, right? Or even, yeah, that's fine. Let's move them to a different collection, collection two, right? So now we have two collections, and you know, eventually if you have a lot of objects, you have no idea which one is collection one, which one is collection two. It's just, you know, difficult. So what if I wanted to specifically select one collection, right? All the objects in one collection. Well, you can hover over here and you can just simply click on select objects. It's going to select all of them. Now, next is going to be finding an object in a collection, because if you see here, if I unroll this, I mean, if I unroll both of them, there's going to be like hundreds of them in here, right? Good luck finding a specific model. Like if you have like 700, 800, 2000 objects in a collection, I mean, in the outliner, it's very difficult to find them, right? So if you want to select a specific object within your collection here, you want to select this object in your scene, right? You want to hover over this outliner and you want to press period on the numpad. It's going to jump and highlight that specific object, right? So for example, now I can hide it, you see. And if you don't have the numpad, what you can do is go here to preferences. You can go to key map, wait a minute, no, input, and emulate numpad, okay? Cool. Okay, next one's gonna be Shift G, because we just covered this one, right? Shift G, that's a powerful way of selecting stuff. So watch this. If I have, for example, a cube, and I have another cube here, and both of them are made of different mats, so Control click, right? Now, if I, for example, wanted to cut this cube with this color, which is gonna be mat 14, and in fact, let me just purge it because we have a lot of mats in here we're not using. So let me just go here to unused data and purge it, right? So now we're gonna have only two colors. There we go. So I'm gonna press D, and I'm going to select this color 14 as my cutter. So now I can cut with this color, right? Like that, right? So now I'm going to apply this modifier, okay? So it's multiply. I'm gonna combine these two objects with a J, right? So this is not one object right now. And if I wanted to change this color, this specific color, to something else, let's say to, you know, to some other color like this one, for example, right? I could do that very easy. That's color 11, right? Is it? Or is it 1? Oh, it's 1. Okay. Fuck, I don't have any glasses. So now if I wanted to replace this color with this color 0.1, this one, right? Look what I can do. I can select this one face. Now, since this is one object, I can use Shift G and select similar matte. Then I can go here, add this matte 0.1, right? And I can assign it to all these faces. So I can replace this matte very easily. So if you want to select specific faces that share the same matte, that's the way to do it. Another really good use of Shift G is when you have a lot of booleans. So watch this. If I'm going to have a lot of booleans here like that, and I'm going to press V for array here, shift click, and then I'm going to go array A and another array here, and I'm going to apply this, right? So operations multiply. Now you see, what if I wanted to, what if I wanted to, you know, select all these faces here and let's say taper them, right? Or bring them up a bit because they're too deep. It's going to take a long time to select all of them manually, especially if you're going to have like 100 of them. But you can very easily do that with Shift G. So you go Shift G with one selected, right? And you go to coplanar. And it's going to select all the faces on the same plane. You switch to individual origins and then you can do all kinds of stuff with it, right? So there are other uses of the Shift G here. You can explore them, but they're very, very, very useful, okay? The same goes to, for example, selecting the direction. This is really useful too, because watch this. If I select this edge here, right, and go to Shift G, and I'm gonna go with direction, it's gonna select all the edges around this mesh that are pointing the same way, right? So I could select all of these. Cool, next one. Next one's gonna be Ctrl plus numpad and boundary loop. That's a really, really, really useful selection trick. And I'm gonna show you some very interesting use of it, okay? So Ctrl plus is kind of self-explanatory. I mean, if I, for example, grab a cylinder here, right? And I have something like this. And let's say I got, you know, inset here, extruded like that, whatever, you know, right? Something like this. And I wanted to change, you know, change this top and shift it from this cut to a face. I click here, then Ctrl plus, right, to select that, and F, and I'm done. Do you know what I mean? But there's an interesting way of using this with booleans, and this is how I'm usually using that with a boundary loop. So watch this. If I'm going to run a boolean here, and I'm going to give you 2 tips in one with this example. So I'm going to run a boolean here, right? And if I wanted to run a taper with hardups with Shift T, it's gonna taper, but you see that the distance between these edges is not even. So here's wider and here's narrower. So it's not a perfect taper, right? So I'm going to, you know, press Shift T one more time. And in fact, you know what? Let's just cut it again. So I'm gonna run this again, right? So V, and you know, just let's just cut it and apply it, and boom, right? So now I'm going to, let's run the bevel so you can see that. I'm going to apply this boolean here, so smart apply. And if I wanted to taper it, there's a really easy way of doing this. Remember this trick I showed you with Shift G? So watch. Shift G, coplanar, right? Then we go into I for insetting. Then we're gonna go Ctrl plus to expand the selection, and then we're gonna use the boundary loop trick. So here you go to select loops and boundary loop, and I'm going to assign a shortcut. Shift tilde, there we go. Shift tilde, there we go. And Ctrl X to dissolve it, right? You see that now I got the perfect taper because we inset this face equidistantly from all the edges, right? And then we simply expanded selection and removed the edge, and it just snapped into the chamfer. So that's the way I would work if you wanted to create perfect tapers, and it's a really cool use of several ways of selecting stuff. So yeah, Shift tilde is a good idea to add this shortcut to the boundary loop if you're gonna be using a lot of booleans, okay? Cool, next one. And by the way, tilde is the key left to your key number 1, but if you have a keyboard with different languages, like for example, I have a Japanese language, right? And if I jump into Japanese language, my Shift tilde will not work because tilde shifts to another position, so be mindful of it. So you also have to be in English mode or just find where your tilde is, okay? Just a tip. Next is gonna be this one, okay, the non-manifold selection with 3D print toolbox. That's a very powerful tool. In fact, I'm talking about and using it a lot about in our new course, which is for 3D printing. I don't know if this video is going to be out. Maybe the course is out as well, but if it's not, look out for it. It's a very cool course. It's going to teach you everything you need to know about preparing mesh for 3D printing and also how to prepare your slicer for FDM printer setup. So if you're interested, grab the course. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be out yet when this video is out, but the course is recorded. And currently we're editing the videos, so it should be out soon. But anyway, what I want to do is I want to show you how this works, right? So 3D print toolbox is an extension that you can get through extensions. So I go to extensions here and type 3D print toolbox, install the extension, and you're good to go. And you can unroll it here through the end menu here, right? So 3D print toolbox, boom. And this one has multiple uses, and one of them is going to be finding non-manifold topology and fixing it at the same time, which is really cool. So if I, for example, go here and grab this edge here, right, and I'm going to press V to rip it off. So now you can't see really, right? If you look at this mesh, it's fine. But one of these edges here is non-manifold, which means that the mesh isn't watertight and it will not print well. There could be some errors. When you're printing something, you need to have watertight mesh. When you're adding bevels, when you're adding booleans, when you're working with meshes, they usually should be watertight and manifold, unless you're creating game assets. You want to remove back faces for reducing the number of geometry or topology, or also for reducing the textile density impact when you're gonna be adding textures, because the less geometry you have, right, the more you can pack into UV space when you're gonna be unwrapping stuff, that therefore the resolution of your texture is gonna be higher. So you wanna remove stuff you don't need, which is why we remove back faces, right? But normally when you model, you wanna pay attention to it. So if you go here and you click on check, it's gonna check all this mesh and it's gonna give you, see, non-manifold edges 6. And if you click that, it's gonna show you exactly which edges are non-manifold. And you can actually go here and clean it up. And then you see here on the bottom, that was removed. And if you run it again, it's going to be clean. You can also clean that with machine tools. So you see I got these non-manifold edges. If I press 3, it's going to clean them as well. And same thing. And with machine tools, you need to enable cleanup option and preferences. I have 2 massive videos for machine tools. Go ahead and watch them if you don't know how to use this add-on. Next one is going to be vertex groups, right? So a vertex group is a really interesting one, okay? So let's say that you have a cylinder here and we're gonna run something like this, and I'm going to grab this edge and I'm gonna go here to data and I'm gonna add a group and I'm gonna assign these verts to that group. So now if I'm gonna click on select, I'm gonna be able to select and recall this and any other verts that were assigned to this or other groups, because you can add more groups, right? So you see now, if I'm going to select these, that's going to get deselected, right? So I can go here to checker deselect, and then if I'm going to select this one, I'm going to get this effect, which is pretty cool, right? So it's going to connect through these edges to these vertical edges like that. And then you can, for example, go to, I don't know, let's say curve extract and, grab some pipes out of this. So, this could be an interesting way of working, but vertex group selection are very powerful. They're kind of like saving selections in Photoshop when you create a complicated selection using pen tool and then you want to save it. That's literally what it is. You're saving vertex groups to a selection, and you can do all kinds of stuff with it. Like, for example, you can use it for defining which edge is going to be running on bevel weight, which is going to be running on angle, etc. It's a very powerful tool. Next one's gonna be this one, right? So Select with, well, actually it's not Select. I think that's a mistake by ChatGPT again. This is Lselect. Lselect is loop through angles, and Select is something else, ChatGPT, bro, man. Watch this ending of the video because it's me giving bollocking to ChatGPT for being a muppet. But anyway, what I want to show you is this Lselect. It's extremely powerful. So Mesh Machine is one of the most important add-ons you want to use for modeling, just like machine tools, hardups, box cutter. Like I said, the ultimate guide to hardups and box cutter course is going to teach you how to work with add-ons. And really, if you're not working with add-ons, you're doing it wrong because you're wasting a lot of time. But here, let's just grab a union and, sharpen, right? And now we got this edge here. And in vanilla Blender, there's no way, okay, there's no way you can just one click and select this whole edge because it goes through n-gons, and you cannot select loops through n-gons. It's just not gonna work, right? So if I, if I'm going to just alt click it, it's nothing gonna happen, right? You see, it doesn't go, right? But with Mesh Machine and the Lselect, what you can do is click and alt click, and it's gonna go right through this entire selection here, and you got some other options in here that you can play with. This is an extremely powerful way of selecting, especially when you do stuff like, for example, offset cut, and then, running bevels on this area here, then click, alt click, you can go with Boolean cleanup, right? So you can really do some serious damage and save yourself so much goddamn time. Is unreal, right? So there you go. See what I mean? Perfect stuff. Cool. Next one. So let me show you an example of this, and I'm going to try to explain to you in a slightly different way. So if you use Mesh Machine in edit mode, you'll see different types of selections. We're not going to be talking about vSelect. It's something that's going to be connected to vertex group. It's forget about it for now, but I think I have a video on this one. But I want to talk about these two because they're very useful. So the first one, Lselect, is super useful for selecting through n-gons, and I already showed you that when we boolean these two spheres, alt click on the edge and selected the whole loop across the n-gon area, right? Now this one is really interesting because this one's going to allow you to select the linked sharp edges. So if I, for example, had a boolean here, right? And I had a boolean, let's say here like this, okay? And I'm going to mirror this and apply everything, okay? So smart apply, right? And I'm going to add sharpen to all these edges. So Ctrl click on sharpen. So now sharpen, which means mark sharp, is applied to all the edges above 30 degrees. Since all the edges are 90 degrees, all these edges are marked sharp. So if I wanted to, for example, unsharpen specific area or select specific area based on these edges, right? I can't really use vanilla Blender because vanilla Blender is gonna select everything. So let me show you. If I select one of these edges and go to select similar, right, and sharpness, it will select all the sharp edges. But what if I wanted to select only sharp edges that are linked together, right? So you see, in this case, it probably will not work very well because they all link together. But what if they were not linked together? What if, for example, this area was isolated, right? So we're going to clear sharp, right? So we got this area here isolated, right? And this area here isolated too. So you got two areas that are linked with sharp edges. But if I'm going to go with the same method here, right? It's going to be the same problem. It's going to select all the sharp edges on my mesh because it selects them based by trait, not whether they're linked or not. But Mesh Machine can do that. So if you select one of these and go to Y and go to select and Select, it's going to select only linked sharp edges, which means any sharp edges that are linked together, which is really useful, right? So when this comes useful, where, for example, when you have a specific Boolean cutout and you want to just isolate selection on that Boolean, you can use that method. The next one is going to be this one. This is really interesting, okay? So this kind of plays off of the idea of checker deselect. So if I'm going to grab a cylinder and let's, where's my cavity? There we go. And I'm going to add a chamfer here, right? So now what if I wanted to select these two faces, so the whole loop, right? So, shift, control, is very mundane. Imagine if you had like hundreds of them, right? It's just good luck doing that. So what you want to do in this case, you want to alt click this one, right? You want to go to checker deselect, okay? Then you want to go to tab with machine tools and control click on face, which is going to expand the selection vertically, which is really interesting. Interestingly enough, what you can also do is you can go to vert mode, you can go to checker deselect, go to tab and control click on edge. And then what you want to do is shift alt click this edge here, this loop, and then you're left with these edges. So what you can do, for example, you can curve extract them, or you can, for example, dissolve them to half the resolution of your mesh. You can do all kinds of stuff, right? So there you go. Or you can, for example, split them, right? Like this, if you want to, right? And you can create, stuff like that. So, a lot of possibilities, okay? But that's a very interesting way of selecting stuff. And not many people know about it. Now, next one is going to be Polygon Debug. This is really useful when you're going to be cleaning mesh, okay? So let's say you have a cube, and that's with hard ups again. So going back to the idea of working with add-ons, But a lot of these selections are vanilla Blender selections, right? So if you want to learn more about the vanilla Blender tools and how to model effectively in Blender, then you should grab our Hard Surface Accelerator course, which is superb. In just 2 weeks, 30 minutes a day, you're gonna be able to literally learn everything you need to know about hard surface modeling, menus, tool, the whole process, all the way up to creating the final render that you can put on your portfolio and start getting following or start looking for clients and attracting clients. Because without portfolio, you can't do that, okay? No one's gonna be taking you seriously if you don't have decent portfolio. So that's very important, and you're gonna be able to learn just important stuff, not the fluff. There's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of unnecessary knowledge that you don't really need in order to, become efficient and really knowledgeable and kind of confident in modeling hard surface. So go ahead, grab the course. We have over 4,000 students in the course and hundreds upon hundreds of testimonials on our page. You can go ahead and check them out. If you're interested, grab the course. The link is in the video description, and if you do it right now, you're gonna get a nice discount. So go ahead and check it out. Right now, when I was saying, oh yeah, the Polygon Debug, right? So if I'm going to subdivide this mesh, right? Okay, and let's just subdivide it one more time, and I'm going to combine these two into a triangle, and let's just subdivide it. So we're gonna have an n-gon, right? So you got triangles, n-gons, schmengons, quads, everything, right? So now let's say the mesh is complicated. You got a lot of quads, but you have like 2 or 3 n-gons or 2 or 3 triangles, and you want to find them. Well, it could be very cumbersome to do that, but Polygon Debug through Hardups makes it easy. So what you want to do is you want to go to Q menu, right? And you want to go to Operations, and you want to go to Polygon Debug. What it's going to do is going to dynamically colorize your mesh based on topology type. So red, n-gons, triangles, and I think it's yellow. And then you got this bluish, I guess, and I'm colorblind, I'm guessing. This bluish, grayish, whatever for quads. So now the cool thing about it is that it's changing dynamically. So if you're gonna fix your mesh, right? Let's say we're going to fix this one, right? Let's combine all of them. And we're going to remove these two. You see, it's gonna switch back the colors to quads because now we have all the quads. So it's really, really useful. And then you can toggle it off by clicking it again, and you're back in business. Very useful for cleaning stuff, okay? So, remember that. And the last one, I'm gonna show you how to select not the mesh, but booleans using Hardups and box cutter. That's a really, really, really cool trick. And one of many tricks that I show in the course I mentioned, the ultimate guide to Hardups and box cutter. So watch this. Let's say I have a mesh here and I have a lot of booleans, right? In vanilla Blender, in order to recover all these booleans, which by the way you would need to manually put in a separate collection, box cutter is going to do it automatically for you because it's going to create this cutters collection. You would need to kind of look at all these cutters on all the meshes, right, and find the right ones. Well, Hardups makes it really easy because what you can do is select the mesh here, right, and go to Scroll and scroll through them. But when you scroll, you can select only one boolean at the time, right? So if I click here, and I can work on this boolean, right? And if I'm going to scroll, this is gonna disappear. So what if you wanted to recover more than one, right? What if you wanted to recover all of them at the same time? You could press Alt-H, but this is gonna recover all the cutters in a scene, right? You don't want that. You want just cutters parented to this mesh. Because by the way, Hardups and box cutter are gonna parent all the cutters to the mesh. So you can move it, you can scale it, and you're gonna scale with the mesh, which is really, really useful, right? But what you can also do, you can go here, and when you're scrolling using scroll, right? If you hold Control, you see these dots. If you hover over one of these dots, right, and click, you're gonna be able to recover all the cutters that are actually hidden behind these dots. And now you can work on all the cutters at the same time, which is a pretty cool trick. Not many people know about it. Anyway, that's it for this selection part. But like I said, if you want to have some fun, watch the next part of this video because it's me giving bollocking to ChatGPT for being an absolute muppet. And like I said in the beginning, if you really want to speed up your workflow and get serious with modeling in hard surface, get our course, either the Ultimate Guide to Hard Ups and Box Cutter, which is gonna teach you more advanced techniques, and you know, when you have this kind of basic skills build up, that's the course for you. But if you're a complete beginner or intermediate, I would suggest you go with the Accelerator course, which is going to give you the solid foundations on which you can then build on. So go ahead and grab the course that's best for you, and links to both courses are in the video description. And like I said, watch the next part of the video because it's fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's work on this list a bit, okay? Because there's a lot of fluff in there and a lot of bullshit in there. We need to remove this, all right? So I already gave you some good ideas, and all you did is just edit fluff. I don't want fluff, I want some proper, useful stuff, okay? So just start becoming useful. You're supposed to be allegedly, you know, taking over the world in 4 years or something, and you can't even give me a simple list of selections in Blender. The fuck is wrong with you? Pull your shit together and start thinking. Well, you tell me, how useful is alt-click? Everyone knows what alt-click is doing, okay? We don't need this on this list. So I'll tell you what we're gonna be removing, okay? We're gonna be removing the alt-click bullshit because we don't need that, right? Then Ctrl L, that doesn't even exist, okay? Remove this shit. What the hell is that? Then we have stuff like, for example, Shift, Ctrl, Alt, and F. What the hell did you get that from? Maya? Then select by UV image. No one's gonna be using that, or select by face map. What are you gonna give me next? Selecting by vert color? We're not making dollies. This is not Disney. I want some practical stuff, not some rubbish. Okay, so focus, do some proper research, and stop being lazy. Forget the list. I want you to give me some other things or ideas, you know, or maybe there's something we can add to this list. Like, why did you remove the rest? The rest was good. Anyway, what we need, for example, is stuff like Polygon Debug from Hard Ups and Box Cutter. That's a useful tip, okay? I forgot to add that one in, right? So put that in and give me a complete list. And don't split that list in pieces. Just give me one whole fucking list. Otherwise, I cannot read that shit. Then I'll do some corrections here. Shift plus G, put it in, not shift, sorry, select non-manifold, put it together with 3D print toolbox. The same as loose geometry, nuke them, make it 1 point, okay? Then select mirror symmetry. I don't want, this is rubbish. No one needs this. No one is gonna be using that nonsense. Vertex group, that's a useful one. Alt-click mesh machine, useful one. Then select link faces, mesh machine. This shit doesn't exist. What the fuck is that? There's S-select, L-select, and V-select. Where did you get this shit from? I wanna know. Tell me. Where did you get this select linked faces from? You tell me. Because this is rubbish, okay? So if that doesn't exist, why the fuck would you put it on a list, you muppet? It's L-select, S-select, and V-select. We're not gonna be talking about V-select because that's linked to the normal transfer. I don't wanna go too deep in the rabbit hole, but we're gonna talk about S-select and L-select, so put both of them. And L-select, in fact, is the point here, Alt-click plus click mesh machine, that's L-select. 9 is L-select, okay? S-select could be under that, so put it as 10. So remove that linked faces bullshit and replace it with S-select, yeah? Jesus Christ. Shift, click, Alt, what the hell is that? Okay, that's fine. Polygon Debug, good. Smart select. Box cutter selection? What is box cutter selection? Slice out and isolate selection with precision cut. What the hell is 14? Okay, I wanna know, what the hell is 14? Bro, K and C and cutting through is also C is cutting through, not adding angles. A is adding angles. Where the fuck do you even get this information from? The fuck is wrong with you, mate? Do some research and stop being lazy. Your data, you have access to when? July or June? That's your recent data, right? This change was done in, I think, Blender 4.0, ages fucking ago, right? I was still young and hot, do you know what I mean? What is this nonsense? What the fuck, bro? Like, If someone, see, that's the problem. If you don't know Blender really well and you're gonna rely on ChatGPT and what it tells you, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes because this motherfucker is a lot of time full of shit. Okay, that's a good example. This is nonsense, right? That's the old information for Blender 3.6 and above, I think. But 4.0 and above, it's C is for cutting through and A is for setting an angle, right? And what the fuck does it have to do with selections, you tell me? I know it's brilliant, but that's not the point. You fucked up. Final no bullshit. How many of these final no bullshit corrected lists are you gonna fucking give me, mate? Because at this stage I would do it faster with the fucking pen and pencil. I mean pen and paper, that's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Shrink wrap selection. Shrink wrap. What is shrink wrap selection? What? What's a shrink wrap selection? Where did you get that shit from? Select random, no one's gonna be using this. Hover L, we already have this. Bisect tool selection. What? Polygon Debug, we already have this. Ctrl plus key, we already have this too. Yeah, dude, L selection, that's good actually, but we're gonna be talking about it in regards to seams as well, okay? So L hover, we're gonna talk about one object to object and also seam, but what the fuck is shrink wrap selection? That's what I wanna know. Dude, what has alignment to do with selection? Are you fucking mental, mate? Like, tell me in plain English, what the fuck has shrink wrapping and aligning surfaces to do with selecting? Because I really would like to know. Look, stop making bullshit just to make yourself look important and fucking clever because you're dumb as fuck, do you know what I mean? Let's keep it clear, okay? Fucking taking over the world, my ass. Give me the final list, cleaned up one, okay? And remove all this whole shit, you know, we don't need. Oh, man, it's just, this is, I'm gonna have to do it myself, you know? I mean, you're supposed to be helping me to organize this, and you're not. Barely. It's like you're asking you to do something with Dolly, you know, and create me some very simple image. I give you a very nice prompt, and all you do is come back with some shit and then blame on Dolly. It's your fucking fault that you didn't tell Dolly what to do, what exactly we want. It's your job. Well, don't give me excuses, give me solutions. Okay, so we grouped up some of these selections together, right? To make it a little bit more condensed and sort of concise. That's good. Jesus, man. 30 minutes to clean up this list. I mean, I would have done it quicker myself by Googling this. So you tell me, how were you useful in this task? From 1 to 10, right? You tell me. 4 out of 10. Do you know what I mean? So guys, the bottom line is, don't worry about AI taking over, because at this stage they cannot even do a fucking list for selections in Blender. Do you see what I mean? Coming up with some bullshit that doesn't even exist. Control fucking Alt Shift Alt Click L fucking motherfucking M. What the fuck is this shit, man? Anyway, there you go. And think that it's only Saturday. Unbelievable.